Hey, it's Greg Stanley with the Collector Car Podcast. I'm at the Wynn in Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Concord Elegance, but there's a lot of other stuff going on here this week, including RM Sotheby's Formula One auction coming up here shortly. And to help cover this, as well as some of the cool cars that are on offer, I have Thatcher Keys. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, Greg? Happy to be here.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you being here. Now, this is really funny because you have not been on the podcast before, and I'm thrilled that you're on the podcast no matter what the subject is. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be great.
And I was walking around the show field yesterday, and I saw you just working. You were working hard, and I know there's a lot to do in preparation for the RM Sotheby's auction coming up. So if you would, kind of give us an overview of the auction overall, but I specifically want to know, like, kind of your role and how you manage such a big project.
Yeah, so this Las Vegas sale, it's not our normal type of auction. This is a very boutique, different, unique style. So me and my team, we've been planning this for about 8 months now with multiple trips out here to the Wynn. We are doing the auction in the Awakenings Theater, which is the newest, best of the best theater in all of Las Vegas.
We were there last night for the show, and it was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible. The special effects in that theater and just the way it operates. So imagine 32 cars coming in there one at a time on that beautiful glass stage with the lights and the lasers and the sound. We're going to have a car auction in that style.
Wow.
So much different than what we're normally used to.
Yeah, so actually seeing the show last night, there was a lot of animatronics and crazy stuff. No animatronics, right?
That's for everybody to find out.
So how do you do all this? Like yesterday, I saw you kind of putting up flags, setting up the display, on the concours field. Kind of walk us through all the stuff you're doing this week.
Yeah, so like what I do really is when we have a new auction like this, I come in and I do all the logistics and getting the sale ready, as well as the sale itself. So, they had the Las Vegas Concours yesterday. They had 280 cars on the field or thereabout. And we had to get all 32 of our cars in at the same time because our cars were all on the field. So getting everything in and organized and set up in one day was quite the project. So I had two other guys here with me. It took us 2 16-hour days to get everything where it needs to be. Driving through Las Vegas traffic in a $10 million CLK is not the most heartwarming thing in the world. I can tell you that.
I was going to ask you that. Like, are you driving all of these cars?
Yeah, we have to here. Just because of the constraints of the venue, we have to move all of them multiple times.
So we'll go over the list of cars here in a second, but what has been the most nerve-wracking car to move this week?
For sure, it's the Hamilton car, the Lewis Hamilton Mercedes. It's not easy to move. It doesn't run. It's been pickled since it last raced, so you got to push it around. It has a half-inch of ground clearance, so you can literally get stuck on flat ground if you're not paying attention.
I like that you get stuck on flat ground.
Yeah, it'll just like come to a nice slow stop, and you're like, oh, we're touching grass.
Yeah, there's a speck of dust.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody move that. All right. Well, how about from the ones you've actually sat in and driven? And I bring this up not meaning the cars are bad or anything, but just some of these cars are street legal race cars,
Yep.
and you're driving through Vegas. Like, what has been the most nerve wracking? Like, you're in the car and you're like, oh my gosh, this is nuts.
Well, in this sale, we have two CLK GTRs. We have a coupe and a roadster, and those cars are very seldomly seen, let alone together. So when we had to move them yesterday, you would think that there was a celebrity driving the car. Like I'm not so much worried about the car itself as I'm worried about other people looking at it and not paying attention. So we had a really good system figured out. We had a couple cars in front and behind us that were like our buffers that we knew the drivers. So they were just basically escorting us everywhere. Right now, they're on display at the valet, and they get more attention than probably anything that's there right now, which is kind of funny.
Well, rightfully so.
Yeah.
I remember those cars. Actually, I'm older than you quite a bit. I was at Road Atlanta when those things used to race.
Oh, man.
And so to see one of the legal road cars is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, and to see a coupe and a roadster together,
Yeah,
I don't know if that's ever happened. I know that they've never been sold together in one auction, so just to see them both sitting together is awesome.
Yeah, it is truly awesome. So walk us through just like the next couple days until the actual sale, just to give our listeners perspective on what it's like to be an auction manager.
Yeah, so today is kind of our get organized, everything settled day. So all the cars are here. We're getting the auction display area set up today. Tomorrow, all the cars go on a display to start for preview. So on Monday, we're open from 10 to 6 to 8, depending on traffic of people. And you can come see the cars on Monday. Tuesday, we have a really cool event going on. It's not public, unfortunately, but you can watch it. Netflix is doing their first live sporting event on Tuesday, the 14th. And they've invited us to bring the Lewis Hamilton car to be in their VIP paddock, and they're going to do a live broadcast around our car.
Wow.
So we're going to be broadcasting Sotheby's Lewis Hamilton's first race-winning Mercedes across the globe on Tuesday with Netflix. So that's a really, really exciting opportunity.
That's incredible. And unfortunately, this podcast will post on Thursday, but I'll have links to the anything I can. Especially,
Once they do the broadcast, you can go back and rewatch it. So if
so I'll
this
have
is
that.
coming out Thursday, then you can go and still see the broadcast. It's a live golf tournament that they're doing.
Wow.
And they're going to do a little clips in and out of me around the Hamilton car and talking about it and showing it to people. It's going to be cool.
That's awesome. All right. So, and then walk us through the rest of the setup and the sale.
Yeah, so after the Netflix event, Lewis Hamilton car comes back into the casino where it's on display. Thursday is a big moving day for us car-wise. So all of the cars, well, not all of them, but about 18 of them are going to go down into the Awakenings Theater where they're all staged, or the first half of the sale. We're going to do a dress rehearsal Thursday night with all the Awakening staff and production teams and James Corden, because he's our host.
Yep.
So we're going to do that Thursday night, and then Friday morning, again, another car moving day. The rest of the cars go back behind the theater, and then our doors open at 2:30 on Friday. The auction's at 3:30. All of the cars sell, and as they come out of the theater, they're getting loaded directly onto trucks, and when that last car is on the last truck, I can finally take a breath and enjoy myself for a second.
You can relax and have a beer.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. I know you're working so hard. You know, you hear Vegas, you hear the win, you hear these incredible cars. It sounds like it's a party, but it's not. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not a party. It's not a party. There will be a party Saturday night.
Sure.
But no, we don't have time for that beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Awesome, man. Well, let's just run down some of these cars that are on offer. We don't have to go through all of these, but just to talk about them, you've mentioned the Lewis Hamilton Mercedes. Anything else you'd like to mention about that incredible Formula One car?
Yeah, I mean, it's the only AMG Petronas F1 car outside of Mercedes-Benz factory hands. It's the only one.
That by itself is nuts.
It's a big deal. So if you buy this car, you're going to be the sole owner of the only Petronas AMG F1 car, and it's Lewis Hamilton's very first race-winning Mercedes. So we're like, if you put it in the perspective of dynasties, like, you know, you have the Patriots, you've got Lionel Messi. It's like he's in that he's a Michael Jordan of Formula One.
Right.
You know, he's won, I think it's 7 world championships, and this is his first car that he won his first race with Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's like we're also selling Tom Brady's final game-worn jersey.
Yeah.
It's in that category of the greatest of all time pieces of, it's not even memorabilia, it's the actual machine that he used. So it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the estimate on the Mercedes is 10 to 15 million, and I think that's low.
I think it could be low. It's hard to value something that is essentially priceless.
Right.
I mean, if you have 2 diehard Formula One Lewis Hamilton car collectors, or Mercedes collectors for that matter, there's no other first winning car.
Right.
Like, you don't want his, I mean, you might want it, his second race winning car, but there's only one first place car for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it's going to be, lack of a better term, a dogfight when this comes up for sale.
Well, if the Uhlenhaus Coupe has any,
Yeah.
it could go something like that.
Yeah, it's in that category of Mercedes for sure.
Right. And I know the Tom Brady, I think that was what, 2 to 2.5 million for the jersey?
Yeah, the estimate's 1 million to 1.5.
Oh, 1 to 1.5.
And it's Tom Brady's final game-worn jersey. So it's the game that they beat, or they lost to the Cowboys in 2022. 2 or 1, I can't remember exactly. But it's his final jersey, and it's authenticated. It's all matched. He signed it a couple weeks ago. He came to the office and signed it.
Really?
Yep. And he's like, "Yeah, this is the one. This is my last jersey." So I mean, you can.
define coming to the office.
The LA office.
Oh, I was about to say,
Yeah.
because
He's not coming to Canada.
okay, yeah, I was about to say, wait a second, I'm just going to drop by outside of Detroit.
Yeah.
You know, okay, all right. So we talked about the other two, the Mercedes, the CLKs.
Mhm.
Now those things are just insane and gorgeous. So just from a price point perspective, for the coupe, it's 8 to 9, and there were 20 of those. And then for the Roadster, because of the rarity and it's a Roadster, 10.5 to 13. And how many of those were built?
7.
7 of them were.
There's only 7 Roadsters ever made. So that, that itself adds 30% value.
Absolutely.
It's like, it's just finding a more rare bird.
Yeah, we were walking by them yesterday, and my wife was actually like, "Oh man, I really love that Roadster version." Like the differences between the two, they're both gorgeous, but the subtle differences with the spider top, I guess, some of the radiator, the air ducts and stuff were slightly different because it didn't have the scoop on the roof, that kind of thing.
I personally think the coupe looks a bit more menacing.
Yep.
Like it looks a bit more angry, like a race car.
Yep.
I think the Roadster's gorgeous. But it just doesn't have like that menacing growl.
Right.
But it's such a rare thing. Like it'd be the capstone of any collection.
Yeah.
Whoever buys that, like you're gonna walk into their garage and be like, "Is that a CLK Roadster?" And there might be a GTO parked next to it.
Right.
Because like you just don't see them.
You just don't.
Like
see
everybody knows what a GTO looks like, right?
Right.
Like we're selling one tomorrow or on Monday.
Yeah.
Like it's iconic. When you see a CLK Roadster, it's in that same category.
Yeah.
It's just you don't see them every day.
Yep.
Even every 5 years.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, for sure. Well, the next one's the 1996 Bugatti EB110, but not just the regular one. It's the Super Sport, right?
Yeah, it's an SS. It is one of 30. It's an incredible car. We were driving it around yesterday, and Zach and I were sitting there watching Corey move it, and we kind of forgot that we were had to direct him because we just got stuck staring at it.
Yeah.
Like, man, this thing is cool.
Yeah.
The black wheels really set it off for me.
Are those factory black wheels?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just great. It's something like this auction in itself has a collection of supercars that I don't know if we'll be able to assemble again.
Right.
Like there is everything here.
Yeah, for sure. Now that one's 2.5 to 3.25. And when those came out, I have pictures of some of those when they came out, and I wasn't thrilled with the design initially, but man, it's really aged well.
It's aged really well.
Yeah, especially since they brought back the whole Bugatti, as a whole,
To me, it's almost like this car kind of fell out of style, and now it's back in style.
Yeah.
Like the queuing and the lines of it, and the way that it's kind of just the general shape, how it's a wedge shape. Like cars are going back to that now, but that kind of fell off in the early 2000s, and it kind of was like, oh, that's an EB110, and the value show that as well. They didn't used to be as valuable, and now they're becoming more popular based on their styling. And they're kind of coming back in, if that makes sense.
Well, I love the color. I'm not a guy. My wife will tell you. I don't typically like white cars. I really like it on that car. I like that it's not French blue, and the black wheels really look good on it.
Yeah, the black wheels make it special.
Now, we've got a bunch of Ferraris. I'm not going to really pick too many of these, but the first one, the Ferrari Aperta. What do you know about that car? I know those are extremely rare nowadays, and they're doing quite well in the valuation market, aren't they?
Yeah, ever since they came out with the Aperta, I mean, we sold the very first one in Ferrari of 2017, our auction at the factory there, and it was the person that bought it got to pick and spec their own option. And ever since that happened, the Aperta value has just gone up.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to a regular Ferrari, a coupe, we'll call them between 3.5 to 4.5 in general. That's a wide range, but in that area, the Apertas are over $5 million.
Yeah.
So just for a car that is a coupe with a removable roof, that's a huge price difference.
Yeah.
But they're incredible cars. This one has the carbon fiber roof, so it just literally take it off with one hand. It's amazing.
Yep.
Great colors. It's black with red pen striping, with a red and black interior. It's very complementary of each other. Looks really good going down the road, and it's low mileage too. It's just over 2,000 miles.
Oh, that's crazy. That's really cool. And I also wanted to throw this in there because it's not just cars you're selling. You mentioned the Tom Brady jersey. I wanted to mention the Michael Schumacher racing suit. We've had tremendous success on Schumacher stuff. I mean, at Monterey we had the helmets, and they went from, I forgot what the estimates were on those, but they were selling 100 to 150 grand for a helmet, right?
Yeah, we were surprised by how well the Schumacher memorabilia has been doing. Those helmets, just after Monterey, we had them estimated anywhere from 10 to 30 grand, depending on the helmet itself. But they ended up selling between 60 and 100 grand per helmet.
So how are the suits doing in relation to the helmets? Because helmets, I can see those, people collect football helmets. They're small, they're compact, you can just put them on the shelf. Are you seeing that same kind of surprise with the suits? Or is it a Schumacher effect?
So far it's been a Schumacher effect.
Okay.
The one that we're selling here is the race suit that he wore at the Italian Grand Prix. He won pole position, fastest lap, and he won the race. So this is a suit that he wore during that time, and he signed it. So it's a signed racing suit. We sold about 20 of them a couple months ago, and we had them estimated between 10 and 20 grand, and they were selling for 30 to 50.
Right.
So I mean, same correlation as the helmets, but not quite as extreme. As like a price difference, because suits are a little bit harder to display than a helmet. But it's still Michael Schumacher's race-winning Italian GP suit, and if you want a Schumacher suit, you want the one he wore in Italy when he was driving for a Ferrari.
That's the one you want, right?
Yep.
Now the estimate is 20 to 25. So to me, that's one we need to watch, right?
Yeah.
You got to watch this one.
Yeah,
see if it hits
absolutely.
50 or something like that.
It should.
So next, I just wanted to talk about, we have two LFAs.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about the difference between the two, because it's fascinating. The original price point difference between a Nürburgring edition, which I think there were 50, and a 9, it wasn't that big of a deal. I think it was 50 grand. That's a lot of money, obviously, back in the day. But the gap to today is huge.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about those two cars.
It's funny. I was just with the cars downstairs with Zach, and we were talking about LFAs because they're parked right next to each other, and we're like, it's crazy. Like, when these came out in 2012, dealerships were having a hard time selling them. Like, they were sitting there for a couple years, and they were just waiting for somebody to come buy them. And then they started coming, into the collector car market at around, I remember when they were 400 to 600 grand for a standard one. And then now they just keep slowly climbing up year after year. And we just set the world record in Monterey for a non-Nürburgring at $1 million. $1 million for an LFA.
Right.
And so naturally, when the regular LFA comes available for $1 million, that's going to push up the Nürburgring. Because it's a more limited edition. It's carbon fiber, different performance, different tuning, a little bit different interiors, all around more trackable car than the regular street LFA. They're both streetable, but more benefits to the track with the Nürburgring. Those should be up around $1.8 to $2 million now, just based off us selling a low mileage standard one for $1 million.
Yeah. So
and just 5 years ago, you could buy a Nürburgring for 800 grand.
Yeah, so think about the math on that. The option was maybe 15% more, right?
Yep.
And today it's double the price.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So this one, the Nürburgring that we're selling, it's the orange one. We have an orange one that's a Nürburgring and the yellow one, which is the standard LFA. They're both the two lowest LFA mileage cars that I'm aware of, that we're aware of. The Nürburgring has 127 miles on it.
Oh, wow.
It hasn't been driven. The 127 miles since 2012, that's basically just moving around your collection and maybe taking around the block a few times in its life. So it's really like buying a brand new Nürburgring from the dealership. Yeah. And the regular car is 143 miles. Wow. So if you want the two best LFAs that exist to our knowledge, this is your time to do it.
This is your time to do it. Right. Okay. We've talked about a lot of Mercedes-Benz. You're of the generation where like the cars from the 80s, 90s mean a lot to you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have this 1989 Mercedes-Benz 560. This is the longest title in the world. 560 SEC AMG 6.0 wide body, estimates $700,000 to $900,000. Tell me why this car would appeal to you. And these have gone through the roof lately from a valuation perspective, right?
Yeah, they have exploded.
Yeah.
More commonly referred to as the Hammer.
Yes.
As we like to call them. It is just the epitome of what I thought was cool when I was 10.
Yeah.
It was a loud, German, powerful four-door sedan, and it had a wide body kit. It was awesome. Like, it doesn't get any cooler than that for my generation of guys. Like, this falls into line with like your two Jay-Z Supras. It's that generation of car. The wide body, the Hammers have gotten a lot of appreciation. They used to be down around 2 to 3, 400 grand for a low mileage one, and now they're getting closer to $1 million. $1 million for a 4-door Mercedes-Benz with a 6-liter engine in it.
Was it at Miami this last year that we had the one that the estimate was around 290 or something, and it sold for over 700?
750.
Yeah, that was the tipping point in my mind, or that was where, all right, something's going on here, right?
Yep, that's like when that happened with the wide bodies. That what happened with the LFA in Monterey for us.
Okay.
Like, so when we do that, it's now making the market of where these cars should be selling for.
Right.
So prime example in that we have one in this auction. We got a Hammer in Las Vegas, and we have another one coming up on December 8th in New York.
Okay. Yep.
So we got 2 opportunities coming up to buy a Hammer.
That's awesome. That's great. Now there's some other Mercedes here. One of them is the 2021 the AMG Black Series Project 1 Edition. I had this on here because it's an interesting car. It's a really cool car, $650,000 to $800,000. It's my understanding when you bought this, you couldn't sell it for a year, year and a half, and now those are coming off of that time frame. And so some are coming to market. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a special Black Series being a P1 edition. And what that means is these cars were only offered to clients of Mercedes that had an AMG Project 1 on order. And you could only buy one if you had an agreement with Mercedes to buy a Project 1, which we all know that car. It's really a Formula 1 car for the road.
Yep.
And this particular one is a special one because most of these cars are black, and this one is silver. I believe there's 2 or maybe 3 silver ones, and this is the only silver one that's been going to be publicly offered.
Right.
I've seen quite a few black ones. They're a super special car. They have the Mercedes livery of their Formula 1 car on the back half of the car, which makes them cool. It's got special wheels, interior. It's just an awesome Black Series.
Yeah, they're really cool little cars.
Well, honestly, it's the Black Series that you want.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then, just so our listeners don't think everything here is post 1985, we do have some older cars here. 1957 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster, one of the best cars ever, right?
All time.
Very interesting color.
Yeah, strawberry metallic. I think it's stunning.
Yeah.
Some people just call it pink. I call it beautiful.
Now, the estimate on this is 1.3 to 1.6. Where have you seen the values of not only the Roadster, but the going lately?
Roadsters are coming up and Gullwings are coming up. With Roadsters, it has a lot to do with the restoration of these cars. We sell a lot of these, and we see Roadsters that can bring $1 million just based, it's a 1980s restoration, or a perfect one that comes from Mercedes-Benz Classic or Armado restoration.
That's right.
That can do $1.5 million upwards to $2 million for a Roadster. And Gullwings are in that category. They're about typically 20% more than a Roadster. But this one in Vegas it's a great color combination. Strawberry metallic over tan interior. You don't ever see it. This car just completed Colorado Grand. Okay. So it's
it runs.
It's well sorted. It's ready to go. Beautiful color, especially in the sun. It doesn't do this car justice being inside.
Right.
It's beautiful in the sunlight.
Oh, I can see that. I didn't see it out yesterday. Was it out?
We didn't have it out yesterday, no.
Okay. All right. Now, talking about super rare cars you never see, 2021 McLaren Elva. Now, this is a really wild car. It doesn't really have a windshield at all, and it's a crazy Mystic-like paint job.
Yeah.
So tell us about this crazy car. Now, the estimate on this one is $1.8 to $2.4 million. Just a crazy, crazy car.
Yeah. So when we had this idea of doing the auction in Las Vegas, we wanted to have a really curated sale of crazy, wild Las Vegas-esque cars. And I said, I know of a McLaren Elva that would be the perfect car to start off this auction, the consigning. It's no reserve. It has no windshield because it kind of has to be. And it's in a wild color. It's an iridescent, I think it's Pacific
color.
Yeah, Pacific Coast color. It changes color from purple to orange to green depending on where you're standing, where you're looking. It comes with 2 helmets, so you don't need a windshield. You just put the helmets on.
Can you talk to your passenger with the helmet on?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. Zach was moving around last night, and I've never been in one or drove one. And so, was it windy? Because that's the first question everybody asks you if you see somebody in Elva. I'm like, how was that?
Yeah.
He's like, it's wild because there's these little flaps that come up in the front of the car that create like an air pocket where you sit, and it's not windy hardly at all.
Right.
And you're just like in this dome of air
Right.
that things go. It's crazy that go over your head.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know if there'll be another car like that.
Right.
That's made by a manufacturer with no windshield and is as wild looking as this thing.
I can't believe they got it made to begin with.
I know, me too. They probably said, you have to have 2 helmets. That's the only way you can sell it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've covered a bunch of cars here. It's nowhere close to all the cars that are being offered, at this sale. I do want to talk about a few of the packages, I guess you would say, that are not car related, but, just tell us the thought behind offering kind of these vacation Napa Valley packages and maybe, what they're all about, I guess.
Yeah, so we're Sotheby's has put in a couple experience lots in this auction. One of them is it's a 4-night stay at Napa Valley. It's a wine tasting experience with Danica Patrick at her tasting room. It's
That's cool.
Yeah, should be a really cool, fun experience. They're at 15 to 20 grand. That gets you out there 4 days, 4 nights. And you get to hang out with Danica Patrick at her winery and enjoy the food and the views and just be in Napa for 4 days. The other one is a cool experience too. It's a Glenturret whiskey experience in Scotland.
Okay.
It's again 4 days, 4 nights. It's a round of golf at Glen Eagles, the most beautiful golf course in all of Scotland, or one of them. And you have exclusive whiskey tastings at the Glenturret Distillery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have VIP tours. You get to stay there. You have a dinner with their Michelin star chef.
Oh, nice.
It's quite the 4-day package.
Yeah, that's going to be a good meal.
Yeah, and I think they're good to throw into an auction like this. Vegas is an experience city. I think you come here to do things. So we wanted to offer, here's something that you can buy to go do somewhere else.
Right.
Rather than just here's your car, take it home. Here's an experience. Go travel. Do something like you do in Las Vegas. So we're really trying to tie into the lights, the craziness, the excitement, and the experience of Las Vegas.
That's awesome. Now, as this podcast comes out, it's on Thursday. The sale is tomorrow on Friday. What time's the sale kick off?
We open the doors at 2:30 Pacific time, and then the auction begins sharply at 3:30.
Okay.
So we're on a timeline because Formula One starts free practice 3 at 8 o'clock at night, and then qualifying begins at midnight on Friday. So we're like the pre party to the first day of the track being open.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Well, man, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for being on the Collector Car Podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.